how are you doing? Today is Friday, January 6th, and I am back for my stitching update. It has been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you have all been well and you've been stitching and creating and making all of the things. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. My name is Olivia, and this is Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. This is a channel and a video podcast where I will typically talk about my cross stitching as well as my quilting and anything else I might create along the way. So if quilting is not something you're interested in seeing or hearing, I'll show it a little bit later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they'll be making their appearance so that way you can go on to the next FlossTube video. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So how have you guys all been? I hope you had a very Merry Christmas and a good start to your new year. I do want to say thank you to everybody who stopped by and watched my previous 2 videos. So 3 weeks ago, I did my regular update video, and that one came out right before Christmas. And I showed the rest of the Christmas finishes. And then a week ago, I did my year-end review where I showed the finishes of 22 as well as my plans for 23 and just everything else. And I do want to say thank you to everybody who watched both of those videos. It really means a lot to me that you guys like to come and hang out with me for a little while. And I got some really great feedback for the year-end review video. You guys like that format. I enjoyed making that video. So I think going forward, that is how I will sort of approach that. What I like to refer to as a bookend video. I like that it came, it was after sort of that last update of 22 and then the brand new update of 23. I like having it sort of right there. So I think I will plan on doing that going forward. I'm already looking forward to doing my year-end video, which is not for, 360 some days. But I can't wait to, make the video and see, what I might have finished this year. All right, one thing I did want to mention really quickly before we get into today's video is I showed 3 possible projects. You're probably going to hear Freddie in the background. There's a dog across the street that is barking at something, and he hears it. And he'll probably carry on for a few minutes. If he gets to where he's really barking, I'll just pause the video. Hopefully he's just, walking around doing surveillance. But I did want to mention about the 3 projects that I showed in my last video where I just wanted to start one of them. At some point this year, I just wanted to have it in the rotation. I wanted to be working on it. If it got finished, great. If it didn't, it was okay. I just had to have one of them going. The 3 projects I showed were Christmas at Hollyberry Farms, Halloween at Hollyberry Farms, and the Noel Sampler. I was really interested in reading through your guys' thoughts of which one of the 3 I should start. A lot of you feel like it should be Halloween because it seemed like that was the one that I really was very keen on. And it is probably the #1 right now. It's been that way for about a week, and I actually almost started it, and I stopped myself because I have to think about my stocking that I showed in my last video, what I kind of got going on right now. So I think I might wait just maybe a month or 2 to kind of get back into the rotation, and then I will decide which one of those 3. It's really hard to choose from because I want to do all 3 of them. And if I didn't have any projects going right now, I would start all 3. Okay, so before I move on and talk about what I've been working on over the past 2 weeks, I did want to mention the quilt that is hanging up behind me. It is called Cut the Mustard, and it is from a book by Joe Morton called Tried and True. Probably one of my top 10 favorite quilts that I have ever made. The snowman that you see in the background is from an Etsy shop, Prims by Denise, and it is called I think it's Old Primitive Santa. And the trench bowl, I will talk about that one in my next video. But I will put all of the information about the quilt and the Santa down below in the description box, as well as everything that I showed today will also be down in the description box. All right, so with the ball dropping on New Year's Eve at midnight and then becoming January 1st, New Year's Day, I did have a new year, new start. and that is the Houses of Hawkern Hollow by Caratel Samplings. Love this one. And I mean, it's houses, so how could I not? I love this one. I'm stitching this with my friend Yvette. And I've had a lot of people ask if Yvette has a floss tube channel. She does not, but she is on Instagram, and her name on Instagram is Yvette Go. And I'll put the information about Yvette down below if you guys would like to go follow her. She stitches a lot of amazing, beautiful, wonderful samplers, as well as other things too. So I was really excited to start working on that one. My plan is to finish, every time I work on it, to just finish a third of the block. So when I start working on this one again, I will begin the house. So this was the first third of the block that I did. I am going to be changing the house colors because originally I thought maybe I would stitch the outline of the house and then call it good. But when I got to looking at it and then looking at what the DMC conversion was for it, I just really didn't care for the colors together. So I am going to change it, and I will need to do that before next month, because each month I will try to do a third of the block. The plan with this one is just to work on or to have 3 blocks done by the end of the year, and then at the beginning of the new year I will decide what I want to do. I'm obviously going to keep going on it, but whether I want to, stitch it faster than this year, I will need to decide that. But I love this one so much. I can't wait to get back to it. So I'm stitching it on a piece of 40 count Heritage by Picture This Plus, and I am so far, well, actually I have changed one thing, but I'm using DMC. The first change that I made right off the bat was the grass. So the DMC was a teal color, and I did not want my grass to be teal. If you look at the photo, the grass is very much green. So in the group of DMC that I had for the block, I used DMC 730 for the grass, because 730 was supposed to be the outline of the house. I just thought, no, I can't. I want my house to be mustard, and I think what I'm going to do is find one of the DMC colors that's like the right color of mustard that I want it to be. I'm going to do the trim in white or cream, and then my door, I'm trying to decide between a red door or a blue door. So between now and the next time I work on it, I will need to decide what it is that I want to stitch my house in, and then I will begin, and I will pick it back up in February and do a third of it. All right, so the next one is the ES Spot Motif Sampler by A Female Worth. So this one started out as my Sunday stitch with Yvette and Carol Crago, which Carol does not have a floss tube channel, but she is on Instagram, and it's just Carol Crago, and I will put her information down below as well. She also stitches beautiful, amazing samplers. So I started this one with them, and it was going to be a Sunday stitch. But then over the course of December, I think Carol and Yvette have both finished theirs because they had other projects they wanted to start working on. So I've just slowly been, plodding along. I do plan to have this one in my rotation next week for 5 days, and I am hoping I can get this done by the end of January. But here's my progress. So I'm stitching it on a piece of 40 count sand with the called for threads, and I'm stitching it 1/2. I love it. I love all of those fun little motifs. Cannot wait to get this one done. So beautiful. Such a bright and happy sampler, especially during these gloomy winter days. So I did have someone ask in my last video, which I apologize that I've been working my way through the comments, but I haven't got to her question. I saw it pop up on my email, and I meant to go in and answer her directly, but I wanted to think of like a really good answer. And her question was, why do I enjoy or love working on samplers? So for me, I think it's basically the kinship with other sister stitchers, especially the ones from the past, these samplers were created by little girls that were, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and up. And when I think of the beautiful motifs they created, it just blows my mind. And when I'm stitching on them, I just really feel that kinship with needleworkers, not only present but past as well. And I really just enjoy it. I love seeing the sampler come to life. I like to personalize it with my own family information, make it personal to me. And I really, really enjoy creating this heirloom that I hope will be passed down through the generations of my family. And by personalizing it with my own family members, I hope that it will help the receiver, obviously I hope it doesn't go to the Goodwill, but I'm hoping that, let's say it's my however many times great granddaughter, and maybe she receives the sampler, and not only will she ask the question, who created this, but who did she create it for? And then maybe they will begin searching the family tree and find me, the creator. So I just really just love the kinship, past, present, and hopefully future as well. So I did have a new morning stitch that I started working on, I think it was like January 2nd, because that is the day Ethan went back to school, which was weird because his school district went back to school Monday and everybody else went back to school or work on Tuesday. I think he was a little perturbed that he had to go to school. But I did start a brand new morning stitch, and that is Spooky Countdown by The Primitive Hare. So I'm stitching this one also with my friend Yvette, and we are stitching ours all on one piece. We're doing a block a week for 31 weeks, so the estimated finish will be the beginning of August. Although in looking at some of these blocks, I feel like you could probably do 2 in a week. So I will just have to see as we go along if we want to speed things up and maybe do 2 blocks a week. But so far, it's a block a week. And I was able to get mine done. So this is the progress I made. Now I did not do this upper banner this week. I actually started this on Halloween and worked on it throughout the autumn into winter. And I actually finished it a few days before the new year. And I just had, I would just pick it up and work on it here and there. And when I picked it up, I literally just had this little bit left to do. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Jack-o'-lantern by XJude or XJU Designs. I am using the back side of the piece because we felt like the front side was a little bit too molted for the colors that we were going to be using. So I think this looks good. It looks very rusty crusty, which I love. And the plan is to kind of search for some sort of a wooden board, or even sometimes I see stitchers, they'll mount their cross stitch to a metal serving tray. I don't know if it's made out of metal or if it's like a faux aluminum type metal, but I'm basically going to try to find something that looks old to mount my piece to when I get it done. So I have 30 more weeks to find something. Just in case I forgot to mention it, Spooky Countdown is being stitched with the called for DMC threads. My last project is Elizabeth Furness 1836 by Hands Across the Sea Samplers. So I am stitching this one with my friends Yvette, Christy of Crosshatch Quilts, and Becky Socks for Mom. We started this back in October on Yvette's birthday. And each month we are working towards a page finish with a possible finish in September. Yes, September-ish, I think. I enjoy working on this piece so very much. It's such a beautiful sampler, and every time I finish working on it in my rotation, I look forward to when I can get back to it again. And I know if I was a monogamous stitcher, I would be happy just working on this stitch all by itself. So here is my progress. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count bee's knees with the DMC conversion that is listed in the booklet, and I'm stitching it 1/2. So I finished December's page finish, which was the grass that is down here in the corner. And I think I stitched a little bit more than just the page. If there was like a motif, for instance, I believe it's a sheep and then a swan. There was only a little bit on the page, and I went ahead and stitched the whole motif. So I got a little bit of a head start. And then so last night I had started working on this basket previously. And last night, that's where I picked it up and started working on it. I also wanted to make sure that the basket was in the right place because our page for January is stitching the tree that is in the middle. So I needed to make sure that my basket was in the right place so that way I could just jog over and begin working on the tree. Love it. Love working on this piece so much. It's so beautiful. So, so beautiful. So the page, which it's a little bit bigger than just this, but we decided to just stitch the whole tree. So once I get the basket finished, which I would be doing this basket right here, then I will jog over and start working on this bottom portion and then work my way up. So as long as I can get it done by the end of January, I'll be on track. So beautiful. Can't wait to get to working on that tonight. So this will be in my rotation for the next 3 nights. So it was last night, tonight, and then the next 3 nights. I typically, on my rotation, I work on everything 5 days before I go to the next one. So in my book of days right now, I only have it filled out to next week because I'm not sure how long the tree will take me to stitch, and I want to make sure I give myself ample time to get that middle tree, or to get the tree completed by the end of the month. All right, so I did have a brand new finish, and I did show this in my year-end video, but technically it was a finish in between my 2 update videos, so I'm going to show it again today, and that is my Prairie Schooler Santa. Now, the only problem is I cannot find the chart that this came out of. I know it's somewhere, and I will come across it. Put it in a safe place. I obviously didn't put it away, so it's somewhere, and I will come across it. I think it's St. Nicholas or Nicholas 2, something like that. I will try my best to put the correct information down below, but my husband wanted me to stitch an ornament this year, or a Santa, so I stitched this one. It was supposed to be an ornament, but I talked about it in my year-end video, but basically somehow it got from being hung up on my magnet board to being next to this little wooden cutting board. I have no idea how that happened, but seeing the 2 pieces together, I really liked it, so I decided I'm going to go ahead and fully finish it onto this little wooden cutting board. The wooden cutting board I got at Hobby Lobby, I think it was in 2020. It was in the fall section, but I have seen these little wooden boards since then at Hobby Lobby, and I even think I saw them at Michael's as well. But it was the perfect size. Everything just kind of came together perfectly, and I love how I finished it. Now, I can hang it as an ornament. It's not that heavy that I couldn't, but I did just kind of enjoy propping it up and having him. So I imagine he'll just be something that just kind of moves around all over the place. But I love how he turned out. I think I stitched on a piece of either 28 count or 32 count summer khaki, and I did use the called for DMC, and I stitched it 2/2. These little rusty bells were just a little kind of an afterthought. I felt like it needed a little something, and I had them that I purchased earlier in the year, and I thought they were just perfect. I do have 2 previous finishes to share in today's video. The first one is Parson Brown by Not Forgotten Farms. So this one is probably one of my favorite ones. I love the snowman. I think he's just absolutely adorable. This was a really fun project that I feel like it went pretty quickly. I mean, there's a lot of stitches in the Santa, but I feel like even at that time he went really quick. I think this was my morning stitch maybe, and I love having him out. I'm trying to um, once Christmas is over, I'm trying to make and stitch, even though I don't have anything going right now, but the my plan is to kind of make and stitch some more like winter themed projects. So that way when all the Christmas decor goes away, I have winter to put out. So I love having this one so very much. The frame, I remember I purchased it from Amazon and it came in a 2-pack, and he is laced onto a piece of mat board with a couple pieces of batting. So fun. Just love him. And then my last is one that whenever it makes an appearance in any photo, or you can see it kind of in the background, I always get asked about it. And it is called Home. And I believe the official title is Home, a Diminutive Sampler. It's by Pineberry Lane, and it is available as a PDF download in her or on her website. And I'll put a link to it down below. I I love this one. So this particular piece, it stays out mostly all year. It does get put away from time to time, just like Halloween and during that time of the year. But pretty much all year it stays out and it just kind of gets moved around throughout the year. It was so much fun to stitch on. I mean, it's a humongous giant house, which I absolutely love. I think I stitched this back in 2020. And how I found out about it was I was watching Farm Girl Stitcher. I think that is her channel. I think it's Farm Girl or Farm Girl Dry Goods. I think it's changed a couple of times, but she had it in a like the background of a video, and then she mentioned it, and I was in love with it from the first moment I laid eyes on it. And I remember when she said in that particular video what it was, what the name of it was, I paused and I went and immediately bought it. I don't know if I used the called for because I think I stitched this back in 2020 and supplies were pretty limited, and I think I just used some over dyed threads that I had in my stash. The linen I think is ale, and I think it is a 30, I don't know if it's a 32 or 36 count. It looks like I did use 2 threads, so I'm not sure. But it was so much fun to stitch, and this was the very first finished stitch that I fully finished myself and put in a frame. And I think the frame came from Michaels. So it was a great project to, to try lacing. So it's put on a piece of mat board. It's laced with 2 pieces of batting behind it, and I love it. A lot of fun. I mean, I know the house. If you decide to stitch it, the house can, you can feel like you're building a house for a long time, but it was just so much fun to work on. I really, really enjoyed working on this piece, and I love having it out where I can just kind of move it around wherever it makes me happy. So right now it's going to be back here on top of these 2 antique books that I picked up from the thrift shop. And through the magic of editing, it's back. So this is where it's going to hang out for a little while. I thought it looked really cute on top of the 2 old books. And I've had a lot of people ask where it is that I purchase the older books from. So I get mine from the thrift shop. Well, these 2 were from the thrift shop that's just down the road, which is where I've been buying my frames that I will then cut down. But earlier, there is a nursery that's just like 100 steps, 200 steps, 500 steps away. And that's where I buy a lot of my plants for the outside. And they had a book sale. And one of the ladies that works there, she does, she I think she does some charity work, and these books, she was doing the book sale for that charity organization, and I bought a whole bunch there. So when I find them, it's basically just at sales like that, or garage sales, or thrift shops. I don't really buy them at the Goodwill because they are kind of expensive at the Goodwill, and pretty much everything at the Goodwill is now way overpriced. But I just kind of look for them here and there, either at garage sales or thrift shops. Okay, so my plans for the next 2 weeks, cross-stitching wise, will be to continue working on Elizabeth Furness, the ES Spot Motif Sampler, and there is a brand new start, which I am hoping to start next week, and that is a Flock of Friends by Blackbird Designs. And I just need to pick some linen, and I have to substitute a couple pieces of thread, so I need to decide that. And I was just going to kind of wait and see until I got my ES Spot Motif Sampler done. Then I will start this one. So I was just kind of waiting and seeing. And it comes out of the Blackbird book, Sarah's House. So I did get a little bit of Happy Mail over the past couple of weeks. First package comes from the Fat Quarter Shop, and these are items that are available now on their website. And I will put a link to the Fat Quarter Shop's website down below. First item is a needle minder called Chicken Club by Lori Holt. Adorable. The second item is the Unstitcher, and this one was designed by, I believe, I'm not wearing my glasses, but Lori Holt. So this one is similar to a seam ripper, except it's just got a needle that comes out, and what you do is you use the needle to unpick your stitches that you've, messed up on, instead of using your needle. It's a little bit thicker, because sometimes, I don't know if I get really aggressive when I'm unpicking my stitches, but if I'm not using a peacemaker needle and I'm using like a Bowen, I always bend it. So I must just be a really aggressive ripper outer. The next one is a template. It's called the Dog Ear Clipper Tool by It's So Emma. So this would be if you're using half square triangles, you can go and clip the ends. So that way when you're putting them all together, there's less bulk in your seams. And that is what it looks like. Very useful tool. The next one is Triangles on a Roll, color-coded washi tape. So there are different sizes of triangles on a row. So the triangles are basically like paper piece triangles, and they put them on a roll, and you can go and use the paper piecing method of assembling those. And then when you're done, you can use the washi tape to put, so that the rolls don't unravel. You can kind of keep them more organized. Which I have never used triangles on a roll. I've seen them, but I've never used them. And then there is the blank foundation paper. So this is a 12-inch square blank foundation paper for paper piecing. So this would also be a very useful tool if you are a paper piecer. So thank you so much to the Fat Quarter Shop for sending those items my way. And again, I will put a link to their website down below. So the next little bit of Happy Mail I received from a fellow stitching friend who wishes to remain anonymous, but she had been going through her stash and she discovered she had some duplicate charts. So she sent them to me, told me to keep what I would like and give away what I already have. The first one is It's Berry Time by Blackbird Designs. I love this one. Love it. Keeper of the Pins by Brenda Gervais. So this one was really, really high on my wish list, and so many times I had it in my shopping cart, and then I would talk myself out of it. So I plan on stitching every single one of these smalls. I want to get a little tray, an antique tray to display it in, so that's something that I will be looking for. I love it. I love all of them. And yesterday I went to Hobby Lobby and I bought the beads that you need for the pins. in the tomato pincushions that you stitch. Oh Joyous Day by Blackbird Designs. Merry Christmas by Blackbird Designs. And Sarah's House by Blackbird Designs. I squealed when I opened up the envelope, and this one was one of them, because this chart right here, I wanted to stitch it for quite a while. And I always talked myself out of buying the booklet, and I just absolutely love it. I can't wait to work on this one. I just have to pull some linen, and then there's some threads. So I've already started pulling threads for it. So these are what I had in my stash. And then I need to go pull some that I can substitute. So yeah, I've already started. The day it came, I went and immediately that night started pulling stuff. So thank you so very much, my stitchy friend. The next little bit of mail came from Cindy, and she sent me this card. She sent me a message that there was a fellow quilter who had to destash because she was going into a home. And so her sister had picked up these books and then brought them home. And then she started looking through the books, saw these, and immediately thought of me, which was so sweet. The first book is Voices of the Past, A History of Women's Lives in Patchwork by Kay England. Can't wait. I can't wait. I feel like my words are not, like my mouth is not wanting to cooperate. I can't wait to sit down with a cup of coffee and read through this one. The next book is also by Kay England, Voices of the Past, and this is volume 2. So again, really looking forward to sitting down with a cup of coffee and reading through them. She also included some foundation papers for paper piecing. And the United States Patchwork Pattern Book. So these are 50 quilt blocks for 50 states. So cool. So thank you so very much, Cindy, for thinking of me and sending those books my way. I'm really going to enjoy reading through them. I love reading through all of the Civil War quilt books and anything historical involving quilts, and I will love reading through them. So thank you so much. Okay, so since I did not show Freddie in my end of the year video, I did show him in my update video. I thought today I better show him because a lot of you guys miss seeing him. He's being a little bit of a rascal right now. And I don't know if you've heard him, walking around growling or barking, but he hears something. I think it's the dog across the street. So he's being a little obnoxious. So I just wanted to show him before I announce the giveaway winner from my last update video. He definitely has been a little bit of a rascal, and he did not like New Year's Eve fireworks. So where we live, when it got towards midnight, the ball dropped midnight, and then in like an hour, the hour after, there was a lot of fireworks, gunfire. You could hear that. And I think there was like a neighbor, like a couple houses down. He was just like firing it constantly. He did not like it at all. And he also did not like the fact that we were staying up past his bedtime. So he very much is by the schedule. He knows at 9 o'clock, mom goes in to stitch. She stitches for 2 hours. He somehow senses when it's 11 o'clock because he knows it's time to go out, that last time to go to the bathroom. And then he is in his kennel and he's ready for bed at 11. So he was not happy that we were all staying up, that it was hours past his bedtime. He pretty much sat in front of me glaring at me for like 2 hours. And every time I got up to move or go do something, he immediately headed down the hallway or he headed to the back door thinking he was it's like, okay, she's finally gonna take me out to go to the bathroom. So he wasn't happy. And of course he did not enjoy the fireworks or the gunfire or anything like that. He did not enjoy it. So, but he has been a bit of a rascal today. I think he's just got a lot of pent up energy. especially now that like Ethan's back to school. You know, he's not like chasing Freddie around or like coming out and playing with him, and it's just business as usual. So he's had 2 weeks of like fun and games, and now it's back to normal, and he's just like, this is not normal. Okay, so in my last video, in my last update video, I did have a giveaway. And the giveaway was for the Lady Claus cross stitch pattern and kit that was part of the Stitch Quarterly, which is done 4 times a year through the Fat Quarter Shop. And the last time I checked, they did have openings for the March subscription. So if you're interested in that, it's a wonderful kit. And I did show it in my last update video, but it basically comes with the pattern, the floss, the Aida, and then it always has some sort of a neat little tool, which is the unpicker, and a needle minder, which was Lady Claus. And it all comes in this adorable project bag. So I did pull a winner, and I want to say thank you to everybody who entered to win. I loved reading through all of the comments. The question that I had asked was, what is a Christmas treat that you like to make, just to eat or to take? And so I enjoyed reading through all of your guys' comments. The winner of the Lady Claus kit is Lynn Bloom. So congratulations, Lynn. If you can get a hold of me via email and send me your address, I will get your kit on its way to you. And I will put my contact information down below. And thank you so much for playing. Today's video also has a giveaway. What you will need to do is make sure you are a subscriber, like the video, and answer the question down below, which I will give you shortly. There are 5 prizes up for grabs, so somewhere in your answer you will need to indicate which items you are interested in winning, and in my next video I will announce those winners. Item number 1 is the Chicken Club Needle Minder by Lori Holt. Number 2 is the Dog-Eared Clipper Tool by It's So Emma. Number 3 is the Oh Joyous Day by Blackbird Designs. Number 4 is the Winter is Past by Blackbird Designs. So this is my chart that I use. So it is a used chart that I use, but it's in great condition. So if you're interested in winning this one, it is number 4. And number 5 is the Triangles on a Roll color-coded washi tape. So if you are a quilter and you use the Triangles on a Roll, this prize will be for you. So this is number 5. So the question that you will need to answer down below is, if you had a new year, new start, what is it? Or what is a project, a cross-stitch project or quilting project that you are excited to work on in this new year? Answer that down below. Indicate which ones you're interested in winning, and I will announce the winners in my next video, which will be in 2 weeks. It'll be the usual 2 weeks. And as always, thank you so much for playing. Now, as far as all the cross stitching goes, that is all I have to show in today's video. The plan for me will be to be back in 2 weeks. So if quilting is not something you're interested in hearing about, this is a great stopping off point, and I'll be back in 2 weeks. I will also put all of my contact information, everything I showed in today's video, down below in the description box if you are curious. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about quilts next. Last week, when I filmed my end of the year video, my original plan had been to put the quilts at the end of it, just like I do with every video. And I was going to talk about the quilts that I had finished in 2022. Problem was, when I started thinking about the video, kind of writing down my notes, I could not remember which quilts I had done. And I also realized I hadn't shown them on Instagram. I'd only shown them here on FlossTube. And I also didn't even show them in my on my Facebook page. And so I didn't have any documentation of when I had finished anything. I kind of knew off the top of my head there was some, like the more recent ones, but the ones I had done early in the year, I couldn't remember. And I'm pretty positive the ones I have today are not all of them. I just can't figure out what those ones I did earlier in 22 were. One reason why I did not keep track of the quilts was because on Instagram, When I post pictures of the quilts that I finish or quilts in progress, I don't really get, it doesn't seem like anybody really wants to see those. So I kind of quit showing them. And I basically, the way that I do, like even the videos to like these videos or Instagram, Facebook, I basically go off of the feedback I'm getting. So, you know, when I post cross stitching, I get a lot of great, you know, you guys seem to really enjoy seeing that. Finishes, you know, displayed around the house. But when it comes to the quilts and I show a finish of a quilt, I don't really get, you know, it doesn't seem like anybody's really interested in seeing those. So that I think is the number one reason why I did not document any of that. I am this year going to get better about that because for myself, I want to know when I finish something. So I am going to document it even if only 3 people like it. So the quilts that I am going to show you today, I don't have it in chronological order, so I'm not sure when I worked on it and when I finished it. But I do have a good little bit to show you today. So I hope that you'll stick around and kind of see those because I am excited to show them. Really quickly, I know I already talked about the quilt behind me, but I'll do it again. So the quilt behind me is the Cut the Mustard quilt by Jo Morton from the book Tried and True. So the first quilt I'm going to start off with was a mystery sew-along that Kim Deal did, and it was called Simple Whatnots, and then it had more of a title to it, but I just wrote down Simple Whatnots. And here it was. So she did this, I think, on Instagram. It could have also been run through Martingale. But here it is. So you made it. I think you had to have one of her books, one of the Simple Whatnot books, in order to make some of the blocks. But it finishes at just a cute little table topper. And this one I do have out on my end table, and I absolutely love it. So I did it all in scrappy Civil War reproduction fabrics. Love it, love it. This next one I finished late-ish in 2020, and that is the Windy Pickets quilt by Lamb Farm Designs. And this one I feel like took me a really long time to do, but I also did it out of scrappy Civil War reproduction fabrics. I love it, love it, love it. And this one is across the room on my quilt ladder. And I love it. So glad I persevered. That one, at one point, it got really hard to keep motivated on it because I felt like I would do like 10 blocks and I would think, oh, I only have to make 10 more, and I still had to make 20. This next one is called Coffee Beans, and it is by Carol Hopkins. So it also is just like a mini quilt. I use it as a table topper for my coffee table. And I love it. It actually went together surprisingly fast. I think I just did it over a couple of days. And it's not like I worked on it all day. I worked on it in the evenings, but I was able to get it all cut out. And then, you know, once it was cut out, it went together super quick. So I love that one. The next quilt is called Pinwheel's Quilt, and I cannot take any credit for assembling the blocks, only assembling the quilt. So my 2 quilting friends, they each had assembled half of the quilt and decided they weren't going to continue on with it, so they both sent me their blocks. I assembled it, and now I get to keep it forever. And here it is. So it is a bigger quilt, and I am not going to be able to do it justice, but this is what it looks like. So it's got all of those beautiful Civil War fabrics that I love. I enjoyed assembling this quilt, and I love having it on my quilt ladders or displaying it on my quilt ladders. So I love it. Love it, love it. So that was another finish this past year. Another finish I have, which it's just waiting to be quilted, is my Scrappy Stars quilt. So I made this quilt with my friends Yvette and Carol, and I think Christy too, Crosshatch Quilts. And so we each exchanged, so we made 4 star blocks. I guess we made 3 star blocks, sent them. So I sent one to Carol, one to Yvette, one to Christy, and they sent me a block. And then after that, then you assembled the rest of the blocks. So I was finally able to get this one done. And I used the Scrappy Stars block. There is a Facebook group I'm a member of. It's Kathleen Tracy Quilts, and she had it in the files. And it was really easy just to kind of have it out and reference it whenever I was ready to cut out the blocks. So I just have to get it quilted. Okay, so this next one, the pattern was a free PDF download from the Fat Quarter Shop. I tried to go look for it before I did today's video. I can't find it, so what I will do when I'm editing it is I will scroll it somewhere down in here, and then I will put a link to it down below because it's really easy. You use 1 layer cake and then you can make the quilt top. So here is the quilt. Looks so good. So this is one that I definitely need to get quilted. I finished it way earlier in the year, so it's been waiting for a while. The fabric line that I used was by Jo Morton, and I think it was Hopewell. So this is one that I need to get quilted, and this is the backing that I've chosen for it. Okay, the next one I think was called Leftover 9 Patch, and this is what it looks like. I think I finished this one in summertime, and it's just a beautiful quilt full of Civil War reproduction delight. I also have the background fabric for it, and this one I definitely am not doing any little bit of justice. Some of the fabrics in here were from the Civil War Tribute fabric line and the Civil War Medleys fabric line. So just a fun quilt. Definitely one I need to get quilted. It too has been waiting, and this is the backing fabric that I bought for it. Now this next one I get asked about all the time because you guys saw me working on it, and then I finished it, and then I was supposed to quilt it. And that's just kind of where I stopped. I have everything I need for it. I have the backing, I have the batting, I have the binding already cut. I just need to work up the courage to quilt it. And I think the reason why is I'm worried that whatever motif I put on won't do it justice. And that is the Jane Austen coverlet quilt. And this one is humongous, so I am not going to be able to show you the whole thing, but I will show you this section. So it is all diamonds that you assemble, and it is out of the Jane Austen fabric line. And I don't know if you can get the kits anymore, but I feel like I have heard a lot of places that they are re-releasing the fabric line. So yeah, this one is not one that I'm going to be able to show you fully. It's been folded since I got it done, and it's been hanging out underneath my quilt table. There's the middle motif. So it is based on Jane Austen's quilt that hangs in the Jane Austen Museum. And I love it. It's such a beautiful quilt. And I just basically need to quilt it because I would love to have it done and out and be able to enjoy it. I'm not going to put it on my bed because I have a dog who likes to play in the mud, and he would immediately zero in on this one, and this is one that I probably will also be buried with. I'm just kidding. But I'm definitely not going to put it on my bed. So it'll just be something that I will just display here and there, wherever the mood strikes me. I do have the backing fabric, so it is all the letters that she wrote to her sister. You can't really read any of it, but it's just kind of cool that they did that and then made fabric. So I love it. So I just need to work up the gumption and quilt it. Okay, so this next one is one that I think I might have been in progress of putting together in my last video. I was able to completely finish it and get it quilted before Christmas, and that is Christmas Turkey by Temecula Quilt Company. And here it is. So this is another one that was made out of Civil War reproduction fabric. Love it. The reason why I could not find a pattern for this one is because it was a kit that Temecula Quilt Company put out. Love it, love it. And even though they are these, these type of blocks here where it's got all the half square triangles and all that, it actually goes together really quickly. I was expecting that I would be working on it for quite a while, but it actually finished once I had it all cut out. And then these blocks I did in an evening. So it didn't take me very long at all. And then the next day I assembled all the blocks and then started assembling it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I love this one, and it's one that I will leave out all year. And I have one last quilt. So this one the blocks were made in 2021, but the quilt was assembled and completed in 2022. And it is the Sewing Bee Mondays quilt. So it was, the blocks were put out by Temecula Quilt Company. She did it once a month, I believe, like the second Monday of the month. She would release a block and you just had to make 4 of them. That way at the end of the year, you had enough blocks to have a quilt. I changed mine. I set mine on point with accent fabric in between, because I didn't like the way it was completed at the end of the quilt along. All of the blocks were just put together, and I wanted my quilt to be a little bit bigger, and I wanted there to be some background fabric in between. So here is my quilt. So currently this hangs up in my dining room. So here it is. And I believe you can still go to the Temecula Quilt Company's blog, and you can still download the blocks. She's really good about on the side of the blog, she'll put like the name of the quilt, like Sewing Bee Mondays, or like her free like tutorials and things like that. She's really good about like marking them, so that way it's really easy to find. So you should be able to go all the way back to January of 2021 and then work your way forward. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And of course, Civil War reproduction fabric, because I love it so very much. So a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So I hope that showing you these quilts, it wasn't like really quick. I've actually, and I know I mentioned this like in my last couple of videos, but I've actually been thinking about when it gets to the quilt section of the video, if I have a quilt to show, going out to the other room and filming the quilting segment in the other room, because there's a little bit more room out there to where I can stand up and stand back, and you could be able to see, maybe not the whole quilt, but you can see a good majority of the quilt without just seeing like a little section. So I've been thinking about that, but I have to get a different tripod, one that sits on the table, because the tripod that I use right now to do all my filming, it's actually up, it has legs and everything, and it's up like, I don't know, 4 feet tall. So I don't know that I can put it on the table. I have thought, it's something that I need to maybe work on. So that's something that I've been thinking about. And then, of course, you would get to see the other room and the other quilts that are out there, because I have a quilt ladder out there, and then I have a quilt hanger out there. And so you would just see a little bit different part of the room. The reason why I stopped filming out there was a lighting issue, because I have a huge plate glass window and also a sliding door window. So it lets in a lot of light, but it's a dark room. So I was fighting with lighting issues where it was like fading in and out really bad. So that is why I came out here. It's because I can control the lighting a little bit better. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, especially if it's rainy or, it's just dark outside in general. Then I struggle in this room as well. But that is something that I've been thinking about doing, so that way you guys can see the quilts a little bit better. Well, the plan quilting wise for me will be to continue working on Block Bonanza. I didn't bring any of that stuff out here today. I will show it in my next video in 2 weeks, but I would like to get my Block Bonanza quilt. I'm still working on the accent blocks that go in between all of the sampler blocks. I'm still working on those. I think I'm about halfway now. And then assembling it. So I'm hoping to have it complete in my next video so I can show you. I did decide on one thing. So I had started working on Hope's Journey by Betsy Chuchian. I had started working on that back in September, fell off the wagon, and basically haven't done anything. I think I might have assembled one block from October's blocks, and then I haven't done any more. So I think what I'm going to do is I have my Civil War tribute quilt that is way farther along than Hope's Journey. So I am going to focus on getting my Civil War tribute quilt complete. So I will be working on those blocks. And when I get done, or if I get a wild hair in between it getting done, I will start back on Hope's Journey after. So there could be a random block I could just decide to do. Otherwise, the plan is to work on it after my Civil War tribute block is done. So once Block Bonanza is all put together, I'm going to start back on Civil War tribute and then just go forward from there. I do have some quilting plans this year, which I'm really, really excited to tackle. Some of those ones that I kitted up in 21 and haven't had a chance to get to. So my plan is to get to them. And then I do have a block of the month that will be starting, or I will be participating in a block of the month through the Fat Quarter Shop. Judy Rothermel has come out with a new fabric line called Vintage Charm. And there is a quilt that is going to be made from that fabric line. And it starts in May. I can't wait because I love Judy Rothermel. And I'll put a link down below if you're interested in doing a block of the month. Anyway, I feel like I've prattled on long enough. It's almost 1 o'clock, so I need to go and eat some lunch. So I will be back in 2 weeks, and if you would like to see what I'm up to in between my videos, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. I do have a Facebook page called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting, and I will put a link to both of those down below. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below, and I will either answer them in my next video or answer them directly. I also do have project bags, which I realized once again, I forgot to mention at the beginning of my video, but I do have project bags available in my Etsy shop, and there will be a link down below to it as well. And I will put like the information, I will either flash it at the end or at the beginning. I'll have to make sure I make a note. Anyway, I will be back in 2 weeks. I hope you guys have a great couple of weeks, and I will see you all again really soon. Bye-bye.